I have three potential takeaways here that's on the pragmatic steps that could be taken on the US side, both by regular companies and tech companies, and working closely with their relationships in Washington, D.C., ahead of the next Xi-Trump meeting in D.C. So let me go through three pragmatic steps theoretically. Some of them may seem a little aspirational, but let me give it a go. Number one, the tech companies, both hardware and software, manage to potentially join forces somewhat to encourage Washington and both the parties to keep tech trade with China open, even if it's narrower than it's been in the past, but not block it off with definitive, hey, if it's not our way, it's the highway kind of thing. And this entails encouraging Chinese companies to invest in the US, joint ventures and the like, job creating measures that politicians on either side love to talk about in front of cameras. And not just in AI infrastructure, but also in other industries like autos and materials and a whole range of non-tech industries, energy in particular, solar energy, logistics. There's a range of things. Taking a couple of steps back on some of the curtailments by the FCC, Brendan Carr in particular, on limits on drone imports from China or modem imports from China or cellular modem imports from China. This is in the weeds, but this is core infrastructure that the US does not have the capability to make for the most part in the US. And there aren't non-China sources for this. And we are literally cutting off our nose to spite our face by going after this for very, very shallow political reasons here. So curtailing some of that would go a long way ahead of the next Xi-Trump meeting. Number two, in terms of pragmatic steps of three, have a defined set of agreements, and they can be big or medium or small, but something beyond what's being talked about. And here I have a couple of suggestions. Number one, potentially, Nvidia in particular and Intel could work on AI infrastructure possibilities with SMIC, which is China's version of TSMC. TSMC, for those of you, this is Taiwan Semiconductor, the company that is essentially, I've called them the Federal Reserve of the global tech industry, because they basically make 80-90% of the chips that all our companies, not in the US alone, but especially Nvidia and Apple rely on. Over 50% of revenues of TSMC are just those two companies. And we wouldn't have iPhones at, for a few $100s if it weren't for TSMC making the actual chips. So potentially some joint ventures with SMIC in the mix. And they can be very, very humble, very, very basic, getting through some of the security, safety questions, but it is potentially possible even if they just start conversations. Remember, Intel was basically left for dead a few months ago, and then post the US investment in the company and then a lot of other things where Elon Musk partnered with Intel, Apple is now considering partnering with Intel, stock is up over 200% because they're committing to build their own fab, their own chips against TSMC. A joint venture with SMIC could potentially go a long way. Small item, but a big idea that is not being talked about. And I have a number along these lines, but I won't go through them today. I may have them in a future post that I can go through. Been thinking a lot about these things. Pragmatic step number three, the big companies, not just tech, but Ford, GM in the US, basically work with on additional partnerships with other Chinese tech companies like BYD, which is their leading auto companies. They have some others as well, Geely and others. CATL, which is one of the world's, if not the biggest battery provider in the world. It stands for Contemporary Amperex Technology Company Limited. You probably haven't heard of them, but this is one I've been focused on for a very long time. Unitree, which really makes robots at scale. DJI, which makes terrific drones and cameras, which we've literally not allowed for no more imports from DJI. And as a result, a lot of our industries don't have drones that they use for regular things across so many vertical industries, from healthcare to education to building, etc. All of these things can be worked on very aggressively over the next few months. And even small steps forward would go a long way to making the next meeting between the two presidents in the US a lot less shallow. So those are my 3 pragmatic steps. I'll stop there. I have more, but I won't go through them for the case of brevity.